Welcome back to the channel. My name is Steven. I'm a pharmacist. I own 52 units of real estate and I help coach people to buy their first multifamily deal. So I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos talking about, do you make more wealth from real estate cash flow or real estate appreciation? And I want to show my experience, right? Just so you get some context. So I made most of my wealth, to be honest, through real estate appreciation over time. So I made more money through market appreciation, more money through principal pay down, and I didn't make that much from cash flow, to be honest, because my portfolio is mostly based in California, where I buy a single family home for $800,000, and at most I could rent out the whole house for maybe $4,000, and that's just barely enough to break even, despite self-managing the property. And if you factor in any capex, any vacancy, which luckily I haven't had any, that's cash flow negative, right? So I've been lucky that I have great tenants that stay there long term, and there's not much repairs, but there is. That's coming out of my pocket. And for me, I just raise the rents because HOA goes up over time, property tax goes up over time, insurance goes up over time. So I'm just trying to keep to break even and hope to hold this asset long term. But where I made my most money is, okay, in that $4,000 a month that's paid. In the beginning, it's mostly interest and a little bit principal. And as you go through the loan amortization over 30 years, more goes to principal and less goes to interest. So an example, if my mortgage is, let's say, $4,000, maybe 1,500 goes to principal pay down, and then 2,500 goes to the interest. So over the life of a year, roughly you got 1,500 times 12. So, what, can't do the math off the top of my head, but I think that's $18,000. So every year I'm getting $18,000 of principal pay down, and you times that by 5 years, that's almost $100,000 of principal pay down for doing not much besides just renting out the room, right? So there you go. You just made $100,000 of tax-free income because you're paying down your debt. And then on top of that, in that 5 year window, every single year, that property appreciated by $80,000 on average a year, right? Which is crazy, right? So over 5 years, it appreciated, no, actually, over a 7 year period that I've owned this property, it appreciated by from 800,000 to $1.4 million. So that's $600,000 of equity divided by 7 years. So I think the average is about 80,000, right? A little bit higher, but that's crazy, right? Like, once again, I'm getting $80,000 of appreciation a year plus another $20,000 in principal pay down. So that's literally $100,000 of net worth increase from this one property. And imagine you times this by 4 or 5 properties. So that's almost $500,000 a year in net worth increasing, doing absolutely nothing besides renting out the property, right? I literally just rent out the property to the same tenant, held it for 5 years plus, and it naturally appreciated. And yes, this could be chalked up to luck because I bought at a time where interest rates dropped during COVID and people were overbidding for properties, and it drove up the value of home prices, right? But I made most of my wealth, like my $6.4 million net worth. The majority of it is like literally from appreciation, because like I said, my first single family home breaks even, despite me self managing it. My second single family home, that one actually cash flows about $700 a month right now, because I get $8,000 in rent, and I think my expense might be like 7,000. So that one might cash flow $1,000. My other single family home, it's actually cash flow negative about $2,000 a month, because I did a huge cash out refinance on that property. So, and then my other one in Alabama, cash flows about $700 a month. So if you look at my Tony, Alabama property, I bought that for $260. It's probably worth maybe about $300,000 today, but that one only made like, what is that, $40,000 of equity, in, what is that, like 4 years? So $10,000 average a year, right? When my single family homes in California were appreciating by like $80,000 a year, right? So that's how my net worth exploded, right? It's through equity. And so that's kind of the focus. Like, when you start focusing in real estate, you want to focus on appreciation, right? Like, buying a market, if you live in an expensive market in California, you can buy a house hack in California, get in the market, and it'll appreciate over time, right? And make sure you can at least break even on the deal, right? Or maybe if you're a little bit cash flow negative, then make sure you can handle that, right? Because, hopefully, like on one property, I was negative $500 a month, but as the rents went up over time, and then as the PMI was waived, because enough equity built up. That's when I started to break even the property, and then the property appreciated by like $500,000. So that's really the name of the game, is how long can you hold on to this asset as long as possible, so you have principal pay down, so you have natural market appreciation, and then you're gonna make so much net worth, right? Versus my Alabama property, yeah, I make $700 a month in cash flow on this property, right? It's great. Like, it helps offset some of my portfolio, but it only appreciated by $40,000 over 4 years. And to be honest, if I try to sell that property today, because there's overbuilding in Huntsville, Alabama, and a lot of properties, I couldn't. If I listed it for $300,000, no one would buy it, because why would you buy an old 4-year-old property that's $300,000 when you could buy a brand new one in the new subdivision for like $250,000, right? So my Huntsville, Alabama property will only be worth more than what I bought it for once the building's done. Maybe it'll take 10 years, right? So I already know, like, this one I can't sell for 10 years. I'm just gonna rent it out, right? And hopefully I just can break even on this property, because rents go up and down, right? It's been trending down in Huntsville, Alabama, because maybe there's a lot of new construction, new apartments, and new construction on the market. But eventually, when it slows down, and this is happening to Austin too. So versus like, Huntsville is more of a cash flow market, less appreciation, but there's a lot of building. But if you go to like the Bay Area, if you go to like LA, there's very limited supply of land to build on. So as a result, the properties you do own will appreciate over time. Like the townhouse I live in, right? Right now they're building so many new homes. Like they're halfway done. They built like 500 homes, and there's another 500 being built. But right now, like, if I were to sell my home, why would you buy my home? When you can buy a new one, pick your flooring, pick your furnishing, um, pick your backsplash, pick all this stuff, customize it to however you like, and buy it over there. And you get like a lot of builder credits from Lennar. So like, but I know the moment they're done building this whole community, and the moment it's all sold, that's when the value will skyrocket, right? So you have to hold on to it long term. So like I said, like right now, yes, like people always tell me, Steven, like based on your net worth and how much cash flow you're getting, like it's doing poorly. And I agree. Like, I've $5 million for real estate, and at most, let's just say I'm cash flowing $10,000 a month, which is 120K a year. You take 120K, divided that by 5 million. What's that? Like a 2-3% return on your money? That's probably not good, right? But that's purely focused on cash flow. But if you were to factor in how much appreciation I made, how much principal pay down I made, then my return is a lot better. So my portfolio is geared towards building equity and building wealth, versus cash flow makes you rich and allows you to retire from your job, right? So for me, I didn't mind working for my job from 2017 up until today, right? Despite being worth, multiple millions. But I may hit the point where I don't want to work anymore. And at that point, I need to cash in my equity, right? But keep in mind, the $80,000, I made $100,000 a year in depreciation for my single family home. You divide that by 12. What's that? It's $8,000 a month in almost positive cash flow. Like, no one property besides my 26 unit will cash flow $8,000 a month, right? So the true way of building wealth is through market appreciation and principal pay down over time, and the tenants are paying down my property, right? So yes, the $4,000, I don't get that cash flow, but that $4,000 every month is paying down my principal and interest, is paying down my loan, right? And that's the shadow wealth that I'm building, but I don't see it on a day-to-day basis. So I think I'm poor, and I feel very like cash poor, right? So, but the moment I don't want to work anymore, I could just sell an asset, right? That's appreciated well, pay up my primary residence, sell another asset, send a bunch of cash, and then now I'm retired and I'm comfortable. So really, it's wealth, the appreciation, the principal pay down builds 80% of your wealth, I would say. The 20% is the cash flow. So the point of the cash flow is just to play defense. The point of cash flow is to help you keep your properties as long as possible. The point of cash flow is to help cover expenses, help cover vacancies, help cover make readies, right? But like, if your real estate portfolio is self-sufficient and you can hold that long term, that's a win in my mind, right? But obviously, if you want to retire from your job and do it full time, then you got to have enough cash flow to retire from your job. But let's say if you replace your job with, like, let's say $5,000 a month in positive cash flow, at that point you can pivot to like focusing on appreciation, right? So that's really what I'm trying to do now, is like I've optimized heavily for appreciation. But now that I built up a lot of equity, I can cash in that equity and invest it in more cash flow markets to bump up my cash flow, right? Whether that's paying off properties, whether that's 1031 exchange and buying cash flow apartment complexes, or buying single family homes in Huntsville, Alabama, which you can buy it for $230 and they rent out for $2,000, and you're more likely to cash flow maybe $400 or $500 on these properties, and you times that by like five, that's $2,500 a month, right? So that's kind of a route that I've been kind of thinking about. So like it's time to kind of chop down some free trees, cash in some equity, make myself less asset rich, cash poor, and reduce my assets a little bit, but increase my cash position. And at that point, I can start enjoying life. And that's the whole point of buying real estate, right? Like I delayed gratification for a long time, and that's my superpower. Is I'm just able to delay gratification, not let the net worth get to my head, continue to work, continue to keep my expenses very minimal, and whatever difference I have left, I'm investing it because I know that every dollar I invest today gives me a better tomorrow. But don't get me wrong, I don't compromise today either, right? Like I still, if I want to eat something nice, I go out eat something nice. If I want to go somewhere, I'll go there. Like I don't trim expenses. If I travel, I spend a decent amount of money when I travel, right? Like to me, I don't compromise on experience, but I'm willing to delay the material things, right? Like I'm willing to delay getting a mansion. Well, I don't even want a mansion, right? I'm willing to delay getting my dream car, but cars are like whatever. They just get you from point A to point B. Like in terms of clothes, like whatever clothes I want, I buy. Whatever things I want, I buy. If I want a new laptop, I buy a new laptop. If I want a new cell phone, I get a new cell phone. If I want a new TV, I buy a new TV. So like I don't ever feel deprived at all. So for me, what's really just lacking is that, when you work a W-2 job, by the time you come home, your battery is at like 20%. You're tired, you're exhausted, and, um, you know, you can't really be 100% there, especially if you have kids. Like I don't want to show up to my kids at 20% energy when they're excited to see me for the first time, right? Like you could probably relate if you have a dog, right? Or like you come home from work, you're exhausted, and your dog is so excited to see you, right? I don't have a dog, but my dad does. And that same analogy, like you're coming there with 20% battery, but they're at 110%. And if I can't match that energy, like what's the point, right? And so that's kind of one thought process. And then another thought process is kind of like, the die of zero mantra is that there's only certain things that I can do today that I cannot do when I'm older, right? Like there's an adage of when you're young, you have no money, but you have time, you have energy. When you're like my age, like in your 30s, 40s, 50s, you have money, you have energy, but you have no time. And then when you're elderly, like you're retired, you have money, you have time, but you don't have energy, right? So for me, if I retire early, like let's say 40, this is the crossroad where I have time, energy, and money, and I can really do what I want to do with my life, right? I could go to Japan with my kid for a month. I could just buy last minute tickets to go somewhere spontaneously, right? So there's a lot of things that like you can do to make your life better, right? If I want to spend time with my kids, if I want to go to baseball practice, if I want to go to soccer practice, if I want to go on their school field trip, like I have the option to go, right? And that's really my goal and my objective. So for me, it's just really about that, and I know that, and for me, I already know that like when my time comes, my kids are gonna inherit a lot more from me than I'm gonna inherit from my parents. So like, that's generational wealth, right? Like I'm gonna inherit something from my parents. Christine's gonna inherit something from her parents, which is more than what they inherited. And then eventually, with my kids, they're gonna inherit more than what I inherited, plus whatever I inherited from, the grandparents. So so my kids will be very well off, right? They're probably gonna at least inherit a paid off house each, and then I have universal whole life insurance policies. So like if something happens, they'll get a lump sum tax free, right? That's way more than enough than they'll ever need, right? They'll have a house that's paid off and a lump sum of tax free money. So like if that's good enough, I mean that's already like having a paid off house. You don't have to worry about housing, and then you have like 1.5 $2 million tax free. I mean, what else do you need, right? Like as the next generation. So for me, I'd rather dive zero, invest in myself today, invest in my kids today, right? Instead of me, dying and waiting to pass off my money to my kids. If they need money to help buy a house, if they need money to cover school, then I should do that, right? Like just because they need it right now. Because by the time that I pass away, my kids might be in their what, May 50s, and at that point they're at peak earning potential and maximum wealth building, so they may not need as much. So that book kind of hit a chord with me. You should check out the Dive Zero book. But that's really why I really want to like retire early. right? Like it's because like there's this golden window, like I'd say 40 to 50, where like I have the time, the energy, and the money to be able to do what I want, live life on my terms. And then like the first 10 years of a kid's life, that's the most formative years, right? And then, I have another, 18 years after that. So 8 years after that, if they're more of a moody teenager, and they may or may not want to hang out with you. You know what I mean? So, for me, that's something I really been assessing. And, my wealth building journey was more optimized toward like lifestyle. Like I just want the freedom. Like, of course, I'm gonna still do something, right? I'm not gonna do nothing. But like, does it like some days when I wake up, I don't want to work, and you don't have to work that day, right? Or some days I just want to go for a walk or go for a nature hike, then just do it, right? So just living life on your terms. And I'm willing to live more frugally, live more humbly to attain retirement earlier, right? So I think I spent my upper 20s to mid 30s like just delaying gratification. I still travel a lot, don't get me wrong, right? I still do a lot of nice things because I have a high income W-2, but I definitely compromise my energy because like I could tell during the weekday after work I'm just so exhausted. On the weekends I'm just resting, chilling, relaxing, and I just can't imagine having a kid. So I'm trying to like do everything I can while I can, and balancing that. So it's really a balancing act, and like I said, like once you hit this point, like I'm definitely not gonna die at zero. So why not enjoy now? Like why work another year? For me, I want to get my paternity leave, and then obviously I have to transition myself out of here. So I'm going to make like a 4 or 5 year transition plan where I just can like retire or strive towards retirement, whether it's going part time, whether it's doing this. So kind of my thought process and my mindset there. So, anyways, hopefully you found value from this video. Let me know what questions you have. If you want one-on-one coaching and mentorship, check out the link down below. If you send me an email, I'm happy to give you a discount code. Otherwise, please like, comment, subscribe. Hope to see you in the next one. Thank you so much.